In his much-awaited and latest newsletter of Greed and Fear, Chris Wood of Jefferies has spoken quite in depth about number one, the yield curve control, number two, tapering by the Fed, number three, he also speaks about the pair trade that he has given as the start of the year. He's also spoken about the impediments facing the vaccination rollout. So he's spoken about quite a few topics in depth. He continues to believe that Asia as well as emerging markets would be the key themes going forward as well. Now, what he's talking about in terms of the macro pair trade. So, what Chris Wood is saying is that Greed and Fear's macro pair trade for 2021, namely shorting the US 10-year Treasury and going long on the Chinese 10-year, is so far off to quite a good start. He says that since the recommendation was made on 31st December, he believes that this particular trade has already started working out and already shown signs of outperformance. However, what he is saying is that the 10-year Treasury has moved rather swiftly once it broke out of the range that it had been in since late March 2020. Now, he says that this raises the interesting issue if the Federal Reserve is going to do anything about it in terms of adopting a Japanese-style yield curve control. According to Chris Wood, Greed and Fear's base case since May 2020 has been that the Fed will adopt some sort of yield curve control when faced with cyclical evidence of recovery coming out of the pandemic. However, what he is saying is that the 10-year Treasury is now approaching the level where Greed and Fear's pure guess has been that the Fed may try to implement yield curve control, namely 1.2%. He's also spoken about quite a few developments that has happened, especially the pushback that they have received from discussions with investors on the thesis of new Asia maxima. That is, what they're saying is that they believe that the emerging markets will continue to outperform, especially in Asia. He's also spoken quite in depth about the entire vaccination rollout. He's saying he's quite surprised, in fact quite disappointed, that the biggest impediment as far as vaccination is concerned has been the fact that frontline healthcare workers themselves have actually been quite resistant to taking it. He believes that going forward, this actually shows that there appears to be quite a bit of skepticism surrounding the entire vaccination rollout package. He also spoke about, you're talking about 76% of nursing home workers. He quotes a poll over here, and they've mentioned quite clearly that they did not want to be vaccinated. So now he's talking about the entire development as far as Asia is concerned. He says it's worth highlighting that the Nikkei 225 index has broken above the bubble economy peak, reached at the end of 1989. So now what he is saying is that, since 1989, the Nikkei 225 is actually doing quite well. So this is why he believes that there's quite a bit of evidence to prove, and it's the appropriate time to reiterate their bullish call as far as Japan is concerned. So overall, quite a few developments that Chris Wood is talking about, and he continues to believe in the back to recovery trade.